Okay, this is both sides where we talk about technology from the perspective of United States and of China. Today we are going to talk about the space exploration. It's the first time we do it, and we are using an AI as an expert. And I want to talk about two things today, as a starting point. One is hardware, and the other are objectives. And the first piece of hardware that I want to mention, because it's everybody knows about it, and in fact today I think there will be a launch, is the Starship from SpaceX. What can you tell us about it?
Starship from SpaceX is a fully reusable spacecraft designed for missions to orbit, the moon, Mars, and beyond. It consists of two stages, the Super Heavy booster and the Starship spacecraft itself. The vehicle is notable for its massive payload capacity and its goal of making space travel more affordable by
But
reusing both
who
stages.
tell us a bit who is behind this Starship?
Starship is developed by SpaceX, which was founded by Elon Musk in 2002. Musk's vision for SpaceX is to make life multiplanetary by reducing space transportation costs. He's a key figure behind Starship's development, aiming to enable human exploration and settlement on Mars.
Okay,
Space
all right. So,
and innovation.
does China have a similar project or a similar program, whether it's public or private?
Yes, China has its own ambitious space programs. One notable project is the Long March rocket series, particularly the Long March 9, which is being developed for heavy lift capabilities similar to Starship. Additionally, China has the Tiangong space station and various lunar exploration
Yeah,
projects.
but the Tiangong space station is different. We will get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the Chinese rocket that you're talking, the Long March. Does it have the reusable rockets?
Currently, China's Long March rockets are primarily expendable. However, China is actively working on developing reusable rocket technology. The Long March 8, for example, has been designed with potential reusability in mind, and future
Okay,
iterations.
okay, sorry. So to cut you off, so we can say that in this particular area, China is way behind SpaceX and way behind the United States, right? Because the timelines are very different. SpaceX has already sent six starships to space, while China has not used a single one with reusable rockets, which it's critical, to for economic purposes.
China is indeed a bit behind in the development of reusable rockets compared to SpaceX, which has pioneered this technology with numerous successful launches and landings. However, China is rapidly advancing and has significant achievements in space exploration. Their focus on reusability is growing, and they are making strides to catch up. It's a matter of different timelines and strategic priorities, but they're definitely making progress.
All right, now okay, let's switch gears now and talk from what you mentioned before. The Tiangong space station in Chinese should be 天河核心舱. What about it?
The Tiangong Space Station, or Heavenly Palace, is China's modular space station currently under construction. The core module, Tianhe, which you mentioned, was launched in 2021. It's the station's backbone, housing life support and the crew's living quarters. Additional modules for scientific experiments and other functions will be added over time. Tiangong represents a significant step for China's independent
But
capabilities in
yeah,
space.
but China has a current available space station, right, where they can send humans there.
Yes, China's Tiangong space station is currently operational and capable of hosting astronauts. It has already seen multiple crewed missions demonstrating China's growing capabilities in human spaceflight. Tiangong is a major milestone in their space program, providing a platform for scientific research and international collaboration.
Okay, and who is behind this Tiangong space station?
The Tiangong space station is primarily managed by the China National Space Administration, CNSA. It's a product of China's robust space program involving numerous scientists, engineers, and space agencies within China. The station is a significant national achievement,
Okay.
reflecting the
Well, what about United States? Does United States have an international space station? Obviously, they don't. But are they planning to build one?
The United States is a key partner in the International Space Station, ISS, which is a collaborative effort involving NASA,
Yeah,
Roscosmos.
but the International Space Stations, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be dismantled in a few years, right?
Yes, you're correct. The ISS is expected to be decommissioned around 2030. NASA and its partners are planning for this transition, and there are discussions about future space stations, both government led and commercial.
So there are
NASA is also
discussions. They don't even have plans to build a new space station for the United States, or even for international purposes.
There are plans for new space stations involving commercial companies. NASA is encouraging private sector development of space stations in low Earth orbit. Companies like Axiom Space and Blue Origin are already working on concepts that could serve as future replacements or
All right.
supplements to the ISS. So,
So far, correct me if I'm wrong. We are talking about the Starship that is, managed by SpaceX, a private company, and they are way ahead of China in terms of rocket reusability and heavy lift capabilities. But in terms of space stations, China is ahead of the United States. Am I okay so far?
yes, that's a fair summary. SpaceX is leading in reusable rocket technology and heavy lift capabilities with Starship. Meanwhile, China is ahead with its operational Tiangong space station. Each country has strengths in different areas, reflecting their unique approaches and timelines in space exploration.
Okay, so what about telescopes? Now we know we have the James Webb Space Telescope. Who is behind it? Why is it important?
The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, is a collaboration between NASA, the European Space Agency ESA, and the Canadian Space Agency CSA. It's named after James E. Webb, a former NASA administrator who played a key role during the Apollo era. JWST is important because it's the most powerful space telescope ever built, designed to observe the universe in infrared, allowing us to see the earliest galaxies, stars, and other cosmic phenomena with unprecedented clarity.
Okay, so what about China? Does China have any similar telescope or similar ambitions?
China has several ambitious space telescope projects, though none exactly like the JWST. One of their major projects is the Shuntian Space Telescope, which is designed to work alongside the Tiangong space station. Shuntian is planned to have a field of view much larger than Hubble's and will be used for a variety of astronomical observations. Additionally, China has the 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, FAST, the world's largest field aperture radio telescope, which focuses on radio astronomy. These projects highlight China's growing capabilities and ambitions in space science.
Okay, now let's move to the general objectives. Like in the United States, we have or they have the Artemis program. What can you tell us about it? Why it's important? Who is behind it?
The Artemis program is led by NASA with contributions from international partners like ESA, JAXA, and CSA. Its main objective is to return humans to the moon, including landing the first woman and the next man on the lunar surface. Artemis aims to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon by the end of the decade, serving as a stepping stone for future missions to Mars. It's important because it aims to advance lunar exploration, develop new technologies, and inspire a new generation in space exploration.
What is the timeline for the Artemis program?
The Artemis program's timeline includes several key milestones. Artemis 1, an uncrewed test flight, was successfully launched in 2022. Artemis 2, the first crewed mission, is planned for 2024, which will send astronauts around the moon. Artemis 3, scheduled for 2025, aims to land
All
astronauts
right,
on the
I'm
lunar
gonna I'm
surface.
gonna correct you because your cutoff was in 2024, and I didn't update your information. So as of 2025, the next timeline is 2026, and they are going to send crew, like they will send people basically to the moon. Is that correct?
Thank you for the update. Yes, as of 2025, the Artemis 3 mission is now planned for 2026 and will involve sending astronauts to the lunar surface.
So let me have it clear. So next year, probably we will see on TV people landing on the moon again, as it happened, I don't know, 70 years ago or 60 years ago with Armstrong and all the others.
That's correct. If everything goes as planned, Artemis 3 will indeed mark the return of humans to the moon. And it will be a historic moment, similar to the Apollo missions, but with new goals and technology. It's an exciting time for space exploration.
How are they going to send people there? Like, are they going to use a SpaceX technology or their NASA? What?
NASA is collaborating with SpaceX for the Artemis program. Specifically, SpaceX's Starship has been selected to serve as the lunar lander for Artemis 3. NASA will use its own Space Launch System SLS rocket to send astronauts to lunar orbit, where they will transfer to the Starship for the descent to the moon's surface. This partnership combines NASA's experience with SpaceX's innovative technology.
Okay. What about Chinese? Are they Do they have any similar program as Artemis?
Yes, China has ambitious lunar exploration plans as well. Their Chang'e program, named after the Chinese moon goddess, has been progressively advancing with successful missions, including lunar landings and sample returns. Looking ahead, China plans to establish a research station on the moon, known as the International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, in collaboration with Russia. This project aims for a sustained human presence on the moon, similar to Artemis's goals.
What is the timeline for that program along the Russia?
El programa conjunto de China y Rusia
Well,
para la
English,
Estación
please.
Internacional.
What are the timeline? What is the timeline for China to establish this you know this research area in the moon?
El programa chino-ruso
In
para la
English,
Estación
please.
Internacional. El programa
In
chino-ruso
English,
para la
please.
Estación.
Answer me in English.
The China Russia International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, aims to establish a research base on the moon in the 2030s. The timeline includes several phases, starting with initial robotic missions and culminating in a sustained human presence. The first stages, focusing on reconnaissance and technology testing, are planned throughout the 2020s, leading up to a fully operational research station in the following decade.
Okay, so I guess it's fair to say that in this regard, China and Russia, but are really far behind the United States and SpaceX, because what you are telling me is that they are planning to establish this research lab in on the moon in the 30s. But first, uh, there will be no humans at the beginning, and the United States is saying that they will do it next year and with humans. So I guess that China is behind the United States around 5, 6, 7 years, maybe.
In terms of human lunar missions, yes, the United States, through the Artemis program, is currently ahead, planning to land humans on the moon as early as 2026. China and Russia's ILRS is indeed on a longer timeline, aiming for the 2030s with initial robotic missions. The US and its partners have a head start in returning humans to the moon, but China and Russia are steadily advancing their plans for a sustained lunar presence.
All right. Okay. I think this was just like a good introduction to the situation of space exploration, based on the perspective of the United States and of China. Is there anything important that you want to tell us about the space exploration from the point of view of those two countries in the future? Any technology that we didn't mention, software, hardware, or goals, or even breakthroughs that need to be done?
You've covered the major points quite well. One area worth mentioning is the increasing role of commercial partnerships in space exploration for both countries. The United States is seeing a surge in private sector involvement, with companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others playing critical roles. For China, while the space program is primarily state driven, there is also a growing commercial space sector. Additionally, advances in artificial intelligence and automation are becoming increasingly important, enhancing both nations' capabilities in space. Future breakthroughs might come from these areas.
Okay, so I think this is well, it was an interesting introduction to space exploration. Next time we will talk specifically about certain fields of the space exploration, whether it's hardware or a spacecraft, or we will see. But this was just an introduction. This is both sides, as you know. Probably nobody's listening now, so that's fine. And if you want to know more about technology from the perspective of the United States and China, just subscribe.
That sounds like a great